Okay, so second video of the day. It's still February 29th, 2016, leap year. And the topic of this video pertains to picking, pertains to our right hand. And I mentioned off camera that I have a real stick up my butt about this. It is notoriously taught wrong, and I say wrong with a lot of confidence, meaning players that get it and really know how to pick, guys like Frank Gambale and Allan Holdsworth and some high-level players that don't employ the way it was taught in books will all kind of stand up and say the same thing, that it's just the way it's shown in books, the alternate picking approach. It's just such a waste of energy. It has no economy of movement, and if we applied that principle to other things in our life, how you would open a door, how you might play tennis, you would never use these principles of motion. They would never stand up under any other circumstance or test. But somehow in guitar, somebody decided you should alternate pick, and then somebody decided you should alternate pick everything, and it just goes against. I always show this story. There's one thing that remains true. That's called gravity. There's never anything I'm going to do to be able to change that. It doesn't matter what angle I drop the pick at. It doesn't matter which way the wind's blowing. That baby's going down. And that's the end of the story. Well, the same thing applies for the picking thing. If you play in the direction with your pick of the direction that you're going, you are unidirectional, not omnidirectional, you're unidirectional, and that's what you want to be. You can't be heading in two different directions at the same time and expect to be accurate. So with all that said, enough of the hoo-ha, we're going to use a very simple friend that we all know, and that's the minor pentatonic scale, because it's the best way that I can show you how to do this in an easy way to get started. It is a little more complicated than this, but this is a very simple way to get started. So because I landed here at the 8th fret, we'll use C minor pentatonic, and just so there aren't any issues, that minor pentatonic looks like this. I'll call that frets first, then notes. 8, 11, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 11, 8. Yes, this note's in there, but we're not going to do that. We're going to stop here, and the reason is it's 2 octaves from C to C. So we're just going to stop there. So if I don't say anything and I play this, that's all we're trying to do, but we're trying to do it with the proper picking. My right hand was not in your screenshot. I'll fix that in a moment. So I just want to make sure we agree upon the left hand. C minor pentatonic. That's all we're looking for. Well, you might have noticed that there are 2 notes on each string in this layout. There are, again, many ways to play this scale, but in the way we laid it out, there are 2 notes on every single string except this top one. There's only 1 note. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to get a lot of bang for our buck. Instead of having to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pick strokes, if we're going with this alternate picking thing, that's 11 pick strokes. Instead of doing that, what we're going to do is go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 pick strokes instead of 11. So I've already minimized my margin for error. I only have to do 50% of the things that I had to do before. Okay? Well, how am I doing that? It's probably obvious for you already. I'm doing it by using a hammer-on. So I'm playing 1 note with a downstroke, and I'm hammering on my pinky, in this case. Going to the next string, I'm playing 1 note with a downstroke again, hammering with my 3rd finger in this case, because that's where the note is located. And we continue that procedure all the way through. Now you may notice in your screen that when I got to this top C, that I actually started that with an upstroke. Why do you do that, Gary? I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to be heading back this way, meaning I'm descending. So why would I push my pick this way to have to come back to another string and push it this way to have to travel yet farther again? It just doesn't make any sense. So we're heading, again, unidirectional. When we ascended, our pick strokes ascended. We are descending, therefore we're going to descend with our pick strokes. So I started with an upstroke. I have 2 upstrokes in a row, and then a pull-off. And then I'm starting over again. So let me not talk and go slowly through it in both directions. Hopefully it'll be clear. fingerless. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? There's no strain at all. Because it's all I did is took a very simple process and sped it up, right? There was no muscling it. I'm not going to get tired. I could probably eat a sandwich and do that at the same time if I had an extra limb, right? That's the goal, man. That's the object. Why make it harder than it needs to be? So this concept is what I would like you to apply, and I'd like you to do it with a minor pentatonic scale. Now, there are a few things inside of this that we should talk about on the video. You may or may not have heard this terminology, but there are things that are called rest strokes, and there are things that are called free strokes. And that means even when we play fingerstyle guitar, if you play nylon string guitar or steel string guitar and you play without a pick, you're playing fingerstyle. When you do that, there are rest strokes and free strokes. And so let's define what those things are really quickly. Okay? Without a pick first, and then with a pick. If I take my index finger and I do this, you can see that my index finger is resting on the string that's adjacent to it. Hence, that's a rest stroke. Okay? If I do this, that is a free stroke. Because my finger is flopping around in the air. It's not sitting on anything. Okay? Some people have a real difficult time. By the way, both of those principles apply when you're holding a pick. It's the same thing. If the pick is resting on a string, it's a rest stroke. If the pick is flopping around in the air, it's a free stroke. Some people have a difficult time being able to play with rest strokes. I would urge you to try and do that. It's a lot to get at first with the pick direction kind of thing or whatever, but I want you to notice I'm back to our C minor pentatonic friend again, and I'm just going to descend this time. Why might you do that, Gary? Well, the answer is this. By the time my pull-off happens, it's almost before my pull-off, my pick is set up already to be on that next string. So all I have to do is fire away. Okay? I don't have to find it. So in a weird sort of way, I would tell you, we're buying time by doing this. Right? I mean, if you want to do it with two fingers, sure, but with a pick, that's pretty good. So we're just buying some time. Can I do it in free strokes? Yes. It feels a lot more insecure to me, unstable. So I would urge you to try to do it with rest strokes, at least at some point. And by the way, speaking of, you don't have to practice it with the scale right away. If you're watching television, your guitar's not plugged in, just start doing this. Get used to what it feels like to plant that pick, plant it on an adjacent string. Get used to it this way, which probably won't be that hard. We do a lot of that naturally, but this way is usually the tough one. And this will aid us later on if you ever want to learn about sweep picking, because it's the same kind of concept. But that's a great thing to do. So a couple of little minute things to cover as well. One of them is, you may or may not notice in the screenshot, my pick is not perfectly parallel to the strings, and it's not perfectly perpendicular to the strings. Okay? It has a tilt. Now, I'm not here to tell you that you should tilt it this way. Plenty of people tilt it this way and have success as well. I will tell you, your pick is going to have a lot more drag, not a good thing, a lot more drag if it's parallel to the string and perpendicular to it. I would urge you to get your hand and your arm in the most relaxed place. Now, this is hard to see from a front angle, but you're sitting to the left of me in this shot, and I believe you can see this. When I'm ascending, my pick is pitched not only a little bit this way, but a little bit this way. I'm exaggerating, but a little bit this way. It's called pickslanting. And so I'm slanting in the direction that I'm going. That seems to make sense to me. If you want to end up on the ground over there, you would lean forward. You wouldn't lean backward and try to get over there. This is the same concept. So when I descend, the pick is still pitched in the same direction, right? Still pitched. I'm a forward slant kind of guy. So it's pitched in the same direction, but it's tilted a little bit inward towards the guitar. So in, again, exaggerated sense, I'm kind of cradling it. I'm pulling it in toward me. Way exaggerated, but I just want to kind of put that out there. My hand feels like it's coming into the guitar, inward, this way. I'm not playing away from the strings. I'm not paintbrush stroking them this way. I'm kind of inside. And when I go this way, it's the same thing. I'm pushing into the guitar. Okay, so I'd like you to keep those things in mind. They're a bit exaggerated, but they're worth mentioning if you run into problems. Some people take to this like a dog doing a doggy paddle, like it's nothing. You hold the dog over the water and the dog automatically does this. Some people take to it that easily. Other people struggle with it. But I would tell you that it's absolutely worth it. So we just now examined doing this with a pentatonic scale. It's a great vehicle to do it with, but obviously we're going to play more than pentatonic scales at some point, right? So in that interest, there are a few things that you can do to strengthen your left hand. By the way, are you right-handed?
Right-handed.
You're right-handed, okay. So to strengthen your left hand, because it takes a bit of strength with your left hand to employ this legato type technique, you may want to, because we just now played one stroke and got an extra note. But the truth is we can get 4 notes. So the trick is for you to not pound the living hell out of the pick stroke and then everything else sounds like a whisper. Doesn't sound good. We want to lighten up on the pick stroke and make sure these guys are strong. They're all the same volume. So if I don't kill it with the pick, sorry. Okay, so that's kind of what you're after. Because the scales that we're going to play, if I play a major scale, right? But I want you to notice something. My picking never changed. Here's your pentatonic scale going upward. Here's your major scale going upward. My pick never changed. So instead of having to worry about how many notes are on a string, do I start with a downstroke, do I start with an upstroke, oh, this has 2 odd numbers on a string, oh, that screwed my picking up. You never have to worry about that anymore. It's either bam or bam. You're raking through there, and we're using our left hand to take up the rest of the slack. So if I play this fingering for a major scale, or this one, or this one, it doesn't. They all sound the same. They're all equal. If I blindfolded you, you'd say you're playing the same thing. All of the picking has a consistency to it. That's what you're after. Okay.